Hello and welcome to my video tutorial on how to transfer numbers from one list box into another list box using either a set of preset numbers or a set of numbers you, the user, can type in yourself. Here we can see the program on Visual Basic. This is the simple default ASPX page shown on Visual Basic. Here on the far left hand side of the screen is the text box that users will use to add numbers using this button here, the Add button, into the first list box. They will then use the Enter Number button to transfer those numbers into the second list box, or as I like to call it, the calculation table, and then use the Calculate button to calculate the result of that calculation. If we go all the way back, we can use the Clear Numbers button to clear any number at all within the first list box before it's transferred into the calculation table. It should also be noted that in this first list box is where all of the preset numbers will be entered. Now let's just run through that code, shall we? Let's do the code for the Add button. Here we can see the code for the Add button. Here we see LST category, which is indeed the name for the first list box, .items.add. Very simple bit of code here. This simply adds items into the LST category list box from the text box, in this case called txt add. Now let's have a look at the code for the Clear Numbers button. Here we can see it is very similar to the add function, except instead of the word add, it uses the word clear. Same list box, .items.clear. Now let's have a look at the code for the Enter Numbers button. This button will swap from one to the other the numbers from the different list boxes. Here we can see an if-else-if ladder with only one if-else-if. Right. Here we can see if LST category dot selected index is -1, then swap item LST category to LST numbers. This basically says that if there is anything in LST category, then swap it to LST numbers. Else, if there is something in LST numbers, swap it to LST category. This means that anything can get transferred from one to the other, left to right, or indeed right to left. If, however, nothing has been selected, then this error message will appear. LBL error.txt, you must select a number to swap. LBL error.txt is indeed the number of the error. It is very important to have an error message like this, otherwise it may indeed crash the program if the user attempts to swap, but there is nothing in the list box. Now we come on to the code for the Calculate button. For counter equals 0 to LST numbers.items.count -1. This is indeed the beginning of the for loop within the program. Now, for counter equals 0, this in turn immediately sets the counter on the page to be 0. Okie dokie. And then count -1 will always ensure that the number within the list box is lower than the maximum number. And then next it will check using the LBL check to show the calculated sum from the calculated list box into the calculated sum. Here we can see the sum is concatenated with the actual sum. Now let's have a look at the code for the first list box. This is the one that has the preset number of numbers within it. Subpopulate category with 10 things already within the category. This is hard-coded in, which in turn means that they will always be there within that first list box. And they will always immediately be shown as soon as the page loads up via the protected sub page load event, call populate category. Now, let's have a look at this program running online. We start debugging it by pressing the Start Debugging button. Now, as we can see, the program not only loads successfully, but also loads all of the preset numbers within the preset box. Now, there are several ways why I have done it like this. You're probably asking yourself, why have you done two ways to put numbers into the calculation table? Well, firstly, you can use any of the pre-selected numbers to put into the calculation table, or you can add your own number, transfer it across, and then calculate it. The reason for this is perhaps your number is already in the list box. That way it saves time. You don't have to put numbers in, type them in, add them, enter them, transfer them. You simply press enter number, and there it is. Now, by pressing the enter number button, it will swap it into the other table, or as I like to say, transfers them. That's the word I like to use. Now, with the two numbers in there, we can calculate them, and as we can clearly see, it calculates the right amount. 4 plus 3 is indeed 7. Now we can remove them from there, and by pressing the clear button, clears all of the preset numbers within that list box. Now let's add some numbers within here, shall we? Add the number. As you can see, it adds it successfully. Add another number. It adds that successfully. Now we can press the enter number button to transfer them into the calculation table. There we go. As you can see, this is simply a few steps in a process. 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, 5 step, 6 step. A maximum of 6 steps to find out your calculation. Now once the numbers are in the calculation table, simply click the word calculate, or button calculate in this case, to display the sum. As you can see, that has worked successfully, and you have the result you were looking for. I hope this tutorial has helped you. You should now know how to add numbers into a list box, preset numbers into a list box, clear numbers into a list box, swap numbers to another list box, calculate numbers into a list box, and do some suitable validation to make sure your program doesn't crash. Thank you for listening.